News Central now at this hour begins with update on detained minors of the End Bad Governance protest. The Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives has demanded compensation for the minors recently detained for allegedly taking part in nationwide protests against the hardships brought by the 2023 fuel subsidy removal. Images of detained children sparked public outrage, with reports suggesting they were denied food while in custody. The caucus, in a statement, called for full investigation into the arrests and alleged mistreatment of the minors. It also commended President Bola Tinubu for ordering release of the children who were charged with terrorism, treason and arson. The incident has ignited widespread calls for justice and accountability in the treatments of protest-related detainees. Similarly, organizers of the End Bad Governance protest held in August across several states nationwide are staging a peaceful march in Ikeja, Lagos State. The group is calling for release of its members who remain detained and are currently on trial. They argue that those detained should not face harsh penalties for participating in the August protest, which was a response to rising hunger and hardship.
President Bola Tinubu released some Nigerians who were illegally sent to prison. But it is not enough. We still have so many people in prison as a result of the End Bad Governance protest of August. So we're here today to say that those in prison in respect of that protest should be released unconditionally. And we're also aware of the fact that today some of our Nigerian people are undergoing trial for treasonable felony in Abuja. Treasonable felony because they engaged in protest. And so we're asking President Bola Tinubu to release them unconditionally. President Bola Tinubu was one of the major protesters in this country. This should not criminalize protest. Protest is a fundamental human right. Nobody can take it away from you. And so we're here to mobilize and to go to the Chief Justice of Lagos State to submitting our letters to him that our people, Nigerians, fellow hungry Nigerians that are currently in prison because of protest should be released unconditionally. And that's our mission here. Thank you.
Away from that, residents of Ruga, a community along Abuja's Airport Road, staged a protest on Friday following recent demolition of their homes by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The demolitions were parts of Wike's Operation Sweep initiative aimed at clearing areas in the capital reportedly linked to criminal activity. Leading demonstration, lawyer and activist Deji Adeyanju, along with Vincent Otse, condemned demolitions as excessive and harmful. Adeyanju described this destruction as extreme, with homes burned and property worth millions lost. He called on the president to address the toll on displaced and low-income residents. Otse also said demolitions unfairly left many already struggling people homeless, and both activists urged authorities to reconsider such actions to ensure peace and protect vulnerable communities. Oil marketers in Nigeria are refuting claims of importing substandard petrol, asserting that all imported premium motor spirit is certified by the Standards Organization of Nigeria and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Their response follows concerns raised by Dangote Petroleum Refinery, which cautioned that some dealers might be importing off-spec products and warned against using the regulation as a pretext for substandard import. Industry stakeholder Robert Dickerman confirmed that independent inspectors alongside SON and NMDPRA routinely verify imports to maintain quality standards. Dickerman also highlighted a 13-year agreement with Dangote Refinery for distribution of product. SON officials reiterated the agent's commitment to quality assurance, noting that imports are tested in SON laboratories to prevent off-spec products from reaching the market. The Nigerian government has announced that it will now trade crude oil and refined petroleum products in naira instead of foreign currency. Now, this major policy change aims to strengthen Nigeria's economic independence and reduce reliance on foreign exchange. At an interactive session, the Senate Committee on Finance, chaired by Senator Mohammed Sani Musa, reviewed the new directive. Musa highlighted the need for transparency in resource management, stressing that trading in Naira will encourage local refining and minimize reliance on foreign currency. He also noted that this policy, approved by the President and the Federal Executive Council, will shape Nigeria's fiscal strategy from 2024 to 2027.
Today we gather to deliberate on the pressing matters related to the sales of crude oil to domestic refineries in Nigeria, in Naira, and its implication on the approved medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper for 2024-2026, and what we should expect for 2025-2027. Additionally, we will examine shortfalls in NMPCL revenue remittances, focusing on key areas such as foreign and domestic excess crude accounts, the signature bonus account, NMPCL cash call account, and any outstanding unremitted revenue linked to under recoveries. This meeting underscores our commitment to transparency, accountability, and the responsible management of our national resources. I am confident that with the collaboration of the Ministry of Finance under the able leadership of the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, and other critical stakeholders present here, we will identify solutions and ensure that due process are upheld for the benefit of our economy and the Nigerian people.
And if I may just summarize the key pillars in order to restore fiscal viability, not just to NMPC in particular, but the country as a whole. There was the twin macroeconomic reforms, bold, courageous, and effective, of having petroleum motor spirit, PMS, a market-based price, market pricing of PMS, and market pricing of foreign exchange. These two pillars of the economic reform, once in place, portend additional revenue for government, recovery of the finances of NMPC, and a basis for growing the economy, a basis for attracting investment, increasing productivity, encouraging creation of jobs.
And now to security matters, where Nigeria's Defense Headquarters has announced the existence of a new terrorist sect in the northwestern part of the country known as Lakarawas. Director of Nigeria's Defense Media Operations, Major General Adedugba, while accusing residents of some of the states in the region of embracing the group, says that they refuse to report activities of the terrorists. General Buba, however, assured citizens that operations are currently ongoing to dislodge them from the country. Our correspondent, Amadine Oyi, has details.
The briefing was supposed to update citizens of the ongoing operations against terrorist groups and criminal elements across the country. However, it came as a shock to those present as the director of the Defense Media Operations announced that the military had identified the existence of a new terrorist group in the northwestern region of the country.
Troops are confronted with a new terrorist sect in the northwest. This sect is known as Lakurawa. The Lakurawas are affiliated to terrorists from the Sahel, particularly from Mali and Niger republics. They began incursion into northwestern part of Nigeria, namely Sokoto and Kebbi states, And like I mentioned, they came in from Niger and the Mali axis.
He accused residents in the area of embracing the group, but assured that the military is already working round the clock to dislodge them from the country.
When they came in, did the people see them? They saw them. What did they do? They embraced them rather than report them. And what has that resulted to? The people saw them as friends. The same friends they thought were friends have turned to foes. And we did not get this report on time until we started creating some havoc. We are on top of that situation. We have sustained our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and accordingly carried out air interdiction, ground offensives to degrade these terrorists, find them, flush them, until we finally defeat them, the same way we have defeated terrorist groups in the northeastern part of this country.
The director urged citizens to be security conscious and partner with the military, especially in the area of intelligence sharing. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Let's now tell you about the genesis of a terror group in Nigeria, led by Muhammad Mawa, aka Metisine. This radical religious group emerged in Kano State with anti-establishment ideologies, sparking deadly riots in the 1980s. Following Nigeria's return to democracy, some northern states adopted Sharia law, leading to increased religious polarization and fueling extremist sentiments. Founded by Muhammad Yusuf, Boko Haram emerged in Maiduguri, promoting a hardline Islamic ideology and opposing Western influences in education and governance. Abubakar Shekau took leadership of Boko Haram, escalating violence and targeting civilians, government institutions and schools in the campaign of terror. A splinter group from Boko Haram and Saru adopted a more global terrorist approach, aligning with the Al-Qaeda and targeting foreigners in Nigeria. Criminal groups initially focused on kidnapping and cattle rustling began to adopt terror tactics, blending crime with political violence, especially in the northwestern part of the country. It is believed that some of their commanders were once Boko Haram members. And to dissect this, we're joined by Inko Taria Ipalibo, who is a security analyst. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
All right. How do you think the presence of Lukurawa in the northwestern part of the country impact regional security, given the ties to ISIS in the Sahel?
Well, their presence is a great threat to the regional security in the northeast, and of course, they've already started perpetrating crime. They've started attacking civilians, and they've started unleashing mayhem on the citizens. So the military ordinarily are supposed to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria, and but from what the director is saying, they are shifting the blame to the people for not communicating the arrival of the terrorist group. For me, the military ought to have been proactive in the defense of our territory. They ought to have put measures in place that would prevent the incursion of this terrorist group from Mali. And in event that they persist, the military ordinarily should have resisted them vehemently. So for them to be shifting blame to the locals for not communicating on time, I don't think it's appropriate.
Well, you touched on something quite interesting, talking about neighboring countries. You mentioned Mali. Let's also talk about, countries like Niger and also the Chad borders. What steps do you feel can be taken to strengthen security operations along these regions?
Prior to this time, there was collaboration between the Nigerian army and the Niger army in ensuring the safety of the borderlines. Now, when the coup took place and it collapsed such collaboration, we expected the Nigerian army to focus on the Nigerian territory, not necessarily across the border, but within the border. They ought to have anticipated the infiltration of this militant group or militia or terrorists, whatever they are being called now. They ought to have anticipated their incursion into Nigeria, and as a result of such anticipation, they ought to have protected the territory, particularly bordering Niger. You know, so for them not to have taken such proactive measures and left the borders porous just because the collaboration no longer exists, it's unacceptable.
When it comes to tackling crime and criminality in a place like Nigeria, as well as our neighboring countries, do you feel there's a need for synergy between local communities and also identifying members of these Lukurawa, and what can the military do to foster collaboration effectively?
Yes, there is need for collaboration involving locals to escalate intelligence, but then the military should put the locals are they aware of the procedures, the process of escalating, first of all identifying and generating intelligence, and then are they aware of how to escalate? No. So the military ought to create awareness. If you want to involve the locals, you educate them on what to do, because it is one thing to identify a criminal and another thing to communicate, to escalate to the right persons. So the military should carry out very robust grassroots orientation program. If you want the locals to be involved, you should see them as a part of the security network. You should educate them on what to do. If they know what to do, then they will do what you expect. But for you not to, before now, you have not educated them and you are expecting them to escalate reports. To the best of my knowledge, they wouldn't know how to go about that.
I know you referenced the need to create awareness for locals to identify this group of terrorists, but beyond enlightenment, or sensitizing people in the community, what strategies should the military adopt to weaken this Lukurawas at this, very early stage?
Well, immediately, the best strategy is to attack. First of all, from what the director is saying, they've developed intelligence, they've mounted surveillance, and the recognizance has been settled. So the next is to attack. If you know the locations, if you have identified these persons, attack them. You should not degrade them, you should decimate them. The terrorists they are not playing, they've come to wreak havoc, they've come to wreak mayhem in the communities where they are already occupying. So identify them and decimate them. So that's the only strategy. Kill them.
Well, indeed, we hope all your suggestions are noted. Thank you so much for your expertise on the program. Inko Taria Ipalibo, security analyst. Many thanks indeed. Thank you for staying with us. The Rural Community Development Outreach has called for thorough investigation of lawmaker Shehu Buba over allegations of sponsoring some terrorist groups. This followed criticisms of the Bauchi state lawmaker by the governor, who accused him of registering the suspected bandits for intended pilgrims program. They had sent a petition to the United States Consulate General describing the action as a national security threat and calling for immediate review and action against the lawmaker.
Terrorism is not just a security issue. It is a threat to the very fabric of rural life, disrupting agriculture.
Governor Caleb Mofong has assured security agencies in Plateau State that his government will take all necessary steps to improve security, ensuring the safety of lives and properties across the region. The governor made this commitment while handing over a fleet of refurbished operational vehicles to various security agencies in the state. Our correspondent, Chizoba Anyangwe, throws more light. We'll try to bring you that in the course of the news bulletin ahead of the upcoming COP29 Climate Change Summit in Baku, Azerbaijan. Nigeria's government has been tasked to present a united voice at the upcoming summit so as to mobilize the international summit for the nation's climate action plans. While stakeholders say much has not been done in the areas of birthing effective policies that will ensure all citizens, including women and persons with disabilities, are carried along in the nation's climate action plans, they, however, express optimism that much can still be achieved. Our correspondent, Amadine Oyi, has details.
With many nations, especially developed countries within the African continent, looking forward to the upcoming COP29 climate conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. Preparations are on the way by several groups in Nigeria to ensure effective participation and representation of the country. At this session organized by the Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation, stakeholders' presidency efforts are ongoing to mobilize a united voice that will present a common front to the international community on the challenges being witnessed in the country.
We want to bring together, mobilize our voice, mobilize the different messages from every corner of the country so that we could present this to the representatives, those that are going to the COP29 in Baku, in Azerbaijan, so that we can inform the globe, particularly the Western world, because these are the people that are, or the countries that are emitting so much of the carbon challenges that we're talking about here.
Adolescent students had an opportunity to present their thoughts on the impact of climate change worldwide. Also, some members of the Nasarawa and Adamawa State Houses of Assembly gave updates on efforts by their parliaments to ensure climate action is taken as a priority by their state governments via legislation.
The Assembly have passed the first reading, is awaiting the second reading and other legislative processes. So that is the level, the status of the bill at the moment.
The bill I sponsored, of which it has passed from the State Assembly and waiting for assent, and waiting for governor's assent, we are looking at a way to bring out a policy, a long-term plan that when implemented will address the issue of climate change within our state, and also to bring all stakeholders involved in addressing the issue of climate change.
A disability rights advocate present also gave updates on how current government policies supporting effective action affect the disability community in Nigeria.
One of the biggest challenges that women and girls with disabilities is institutional barrier. The legal frameworks we have, our issues are not captured in terms of disaster risk management, flooding, earthquake, and other climate crises.
The high point of the event was the presentation of awards to deserving journalists on stories bordering on climate change affecting citizens. News Central's Bettina Nwili took the first runner position in the audio-visual category. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Oyi.
Several children with special needs, including those with Down syndrome, residents in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, are receiving psychosocial and mental health therapy to help them develop self-dependent skills. This initiative, which has been organized by the Friends Advocacy Mental Health Initiative in the state capital, aims to help the children harness their potential through creative activities like artistic painting. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, tells us more.
Nahima has lived with Down syndrome since infancy. Her sister Samira Bello has tirelessly sought treatment and done everything possible to ensure that Nahima can play and interact with her peers. Unfortunately, it has not been easy for her. While searching for relief for Nahima, she discovered that Nahima has special abilities in arts, painting and stitching. Though this progress has not come easy, through resilience and continuous coaching, Nahima has made significant strides.
Any other activity, day-to-day activity, like going to school, going to Islamia, we try to take her. Any other extracurricular activity, like whenever there's a program going on, we try to include her. She's really, really getting better in everything. She's becoming, her speech is becoming clearer. So, and with little training, day-to-day training, she's also becoming better. So
Children with Down syndrome may experience delayed language development, use few words, and encounter various mental and emotional challenges. Due to these difficulties, it often becomes hard for them to integrate into society, highlighting the need for social events that will enable them to relate with their peers.
Society usually often separate them or tend to ignore them because of the nature of their special needs. What we are trying to do is to bring these children together. If you look, you can see there are children with special needs, there are children that are the so-called normal children. We bring these children together to work together to explore the act we are carrying out so that they can understand that they are not any different from any child.
We are also trying to help schools to understand that exploring non-conventional means of learning like art, like coloring, different kind of things can also help them achieve their academic goals for children, not just children with special abilities.
Creating a safe space like this offers children with special needs the opportunity to build their self-esteem and develop coping skills. Experts believe that children like Nehima will maintain optimism for a future where they can realize their potential.
The increasing cases of sexual and gender-based violence continue to dominate conversations in Nigeria, with demand for justice getting louder. The disturbing cases of SGBV are becoming worrisome, hence the need for all stakeholders to intensify efforts to address the long-standing systemic abuse and violations affecting women and girls. Our correspondent, Omolola Ololade, has more in this report.
1 in every 3 women will experience a form of sexual abuse before the age of 15, according to the United Nations. The implication of this is that in Nigeria, children, particularly girls, are more vulnerable to sexual abuse.
27% of victims of sexual abuse in Nigeria today are children, ages 0 to 17. It's a frightening figure. 0 to 17. So only 23% are adults.
Unfortunately, the consequences of sexual and gender-based violence are heart-wrenching, as some of the survivors have to live with the trauma for years.
Woman or girl, or even a man and a young boy that have endured a horrific encounter affects the individual first physically, with injuries that may be sustained. Then there's emotional and mental impact.
Nigeria recorded 27,698 cases in the last 3 years, according to the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, a figure many find alarming. As the fight against sexual and gender-based violence continues to gain momentum in Nigeria, Lagos seems to be at the forefront with the creation of the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency to prevent and respond to SGBV cases.
Our statutory mandate also provides that we are to provide holistic support to survivors, end-to-end, medical, legal, psychosocial support, rescue where necessary, empowerment. We've had calls to relocate survivors from the environment where the issue occurred, and of course access to justice.
Despite interventions by both government and non-governmental organizations, the country continues to see a rise in cases, hence the call on religious institutions, legal authorities, traditional rulers, and other critical stakeholders to address SGBV effectively.
In the aspect of spousal relationship, if we discover the man is being terrible, even at times we bring in the law enforcement to help us. The law has its aspects. That woman, that man has a right to live and a right to do what is expected of them.
Sexual gender abuse will soon become a thing of the past because many must have been taken care of in terms of within the ambit of the law.
We are working to ensure that we improve access to justice
for women, children, persons with disabilities, victims and survivors of SGBV, which is one of the core mandates of the program.
As gender-based violence increases, it becomes critical to strengthen mechanisms, especially among law enforcement agencies, to protect girls, women and other vulnerable groups. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission has tasked diasporan investors to apply extra caution and authenticate businesses before they invest in them. And this was at the Nigerians in Diaspora Investment Summit, which held in Abuja and which has finally come to a close. News Central's Joshua Imarai has details.
It was the day 3 and the conclusion of the 7th Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit held in Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja. The day featured pitching sessions from representatives in the real estate, infrastructure, education and professional services.
This day the pitching was on real estate, education, manufacturing, and it's been amazing the talents that we have in this country, the passion that we have in this country, and people that want to just do their businesses. So we've given them a platform to showcase their pitches and also get investors, and we're seeing results.
At the close of the event, the Secretary of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission urged all stakeholders to join investors in taking advantage of opportunities present in the bid to help boost the economy.
Only Nigerians, both those at home and those in the diaspora, can put hands together to develop Nigeria for Nigerians. Of course, others can come and partner with us.
The summit coordinator, however, cautioned investors at the event to make extra efforts in authenticating businesses before they invest.
As the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit landscape begins to expand and grow, we want to remind potential investors to exercise caution. There have been increasing reports of fraudulent schemes targeting unsuspecting individuals looking to invest in promising projects. So please, do your due diligence. Ours is to provide you the platform to build and connect, but do your due diligence.
As the 7th Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit ends, organizers say efforts to mobilize Nigerians in the diaspora to establish a Diaspora Investment Trust Fund are almost complete. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Thank you for staying with us. Botswana has sworn in its new president, Duma Boko, marking a historic change in government after his landslide election victory ousted the party that had been in power for nearly 60 years. Boko, aged 54, took oath in front of several thousand attendees at the National Stadium in the capital. Presidents from other Southern African nations such as Madagascar, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe attended the ceremony. Boko's left-leaning Umbrella for Democratic Change won 36 seats in Parliament in the 30th October election compared to just 4 seats for Botswana Democratic Party.
I, Duma Gideon Boko, do swear that I will faithfully and diligently discharge my duties and perform my functions in the high office of the President of the Republic of Botswana. Embrace it. Be a part of it. Acknowledge the role that you played and continue to play in its unfolding. Stand hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder in this hour of great blessing. It is with a deep sense of appreciation that I stand before you today, the living embodiment of your deep and true resolve.
As Africa Energy Weeks come to an end, it continues to ignite conversations, innovation and collaboration aimed at transforming the energy landscape across the continent. The highlight for Thursday shines brightly on women, powerful agents of change in an industry traditionally dominated by men. Bongwane Sisiba has details.
While women have long played a crucial role in energy sector, their participation and influence are now being recognized and celebrated. This panel discussion is dedicated to exploring the significant contributions of women in energy, discussing both disparities they face and the remarkable strides they have made.
We have met a lot of people, potential partners, and there's been quite a lot of collaborations and also a lot of solutions to the specific and unique energy challenges of Africa. And they're scalable solutions. They're solutions that we find very practical and workable. So it's been quite productive.
Currently, women present a small margin of workforce in energy sector. Some barriers to entry and advancement include gender bias, lack of access to funding, and limited networking opportunities. These challenges can deter talented women from pursuing careers in vital industry.
I think in Africa we have less than 25% of the energy professionals being women. The barriers would remain culture. Barriers would remain. Women in Africa, working in Africa would typically prioritize family life over their careers, or they would pick careers that allow them more time and more flexibility to be a wife, to be a mom, to be a nurturer, to be a home giver, and also just the perception that it's an old boys club and there's not enough spaces for them.
However, the narrative is evolving. Some women are shattering the glass ceilings and leading groundbreaking projects that redefine Africa's energy potential. Their stories of resilience and innovation serve as a testament to what is possible when barriers are dismantled and opportunities are created.
I'll talk about our responsibility that I feel has been bestowed on me just recently as a recipient of the 25 under 40 Women in Africa Energy. I do feel it's a responsibility for me to be able to tell other women to be curious about the energy space, to understand what contribution can they bring to the table, whether they understand the energy concept on its as a whole, or they're in the value chain of where they can have support services within the energy industry. So be curious in the energy space and understand that each of us has a responsibility to be able to contribute to eradicate energy poverty.
From renewable energies initiative in rural communities to groundbreaking technologies in urban centers, African women are at the helm of some of this continent's most innovative energy projects. Their diverse perspective and unique approaches not only address the pressing energy needs, but also pave the way for sustainable development. As Africa Energy Week comes to a close, the ongoing discourse on empowering women in energy is vital. By fostering an inclusive environment, they can harness their full potential. The future of energy in Africa is bright, and it is shaped by invaluable contributions of women. In Cape Town for News Central, Wongani Siziba.
Three oil marketers, AYM Shafa Limited, AA Rano Limited, and Matrix Petroleum Services Limited, are currently involved in a legal battle with Dangote Petroleum Refinery regarding the refinery's request to limit import licenses. The marketers argue that this move could create monopoly in Nigeria's petroleum sector. In their counter affidavit, they claim that granting Dangote control over import and production would jeopardize national energy security and competitive pricing, potentially leading to higher prices and economic hardship. On the show Business Edge, Femi Oladeyin, senior partner at Agentio Capital Management Limited, discussed why fuel from Dangote is priced higher than imported alternatives.
It's a way we describe or we define costs. So costs are basically your input costs plus your cost of financing, plus your cost of running, management, sales and distribution and all of that. And there is the part that nobody's focusing attention on, and that is called depreciation. So depreciation is basically the amortization or the write down of the value of an investment over the life of that asset. So you see, for a refinery in Europe that has been operating for 20, 30, 40 years, the level of depreciation that is filtered into their base costs is significantly lower than the level of depreciation that a Dangote would need to do to arrive at his last mile costs. Secondly, Dangote is a newly built refinery. He's borrowed significant amounts of money to be able to build that refinery, and that would again build down into his costs. There's interest components to those loans that he's gotten and that need to be serviced. So when you do the cost build up, as you've mentioned, a new refinery naturally would have a higher cost build up, even though it may be more efficient than an old refinery. So it's going to take time for Dangote to be able to write down that investment, pay off its loans, eventually then reduce its costs before he can start competing in a very efficient way with old refineries that don't have his level of capex. So it is not that Dangote is
In the world of sports, Malam Shehu Diko, chairman of the National Sports Commission, NSC, has asserted that Nigeria's elite football league holds significant potential to drive the country's sports economy. He made a remark while addressing a delegation of NPFL club owners who paid him a courtesy visit on Thursday in Abuja. Diko, who previously served as chairman of the league management company, LMC, overseeing the Nigerian Professional Football League, warmly welcomed the delegation, describing them as a family and part of his primary constituency. Chief Dr. Oke Paluku, chairman of the NPFL Club Owners Forum, congratulated Diko on his well-deserved appointment and commended the President Bola Tinubu for his fitting choice in leadership. He advised the NSC to prioritize sports infrastructure and grassroots development programs. Belgium has recalled top scorer Romelu Lukaku to their 23-man squad for the final two Nations League groups matches against Italy and Israel. Coach Domenico Tedesco confirmed Lukaku's return to Belgium aims to secure a quarter-final spot. Lukaku missed earlier games due to his move to Napoli and fitness issues, but is now eager to help Belgium keep their chances alive. Tedesco praised Lukaku as one of the world's best strikers, highlighting his leadership and role in mentoring young players. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. House of Representatives Minority Caucus demands justice for detained minors. Edo Governor Obaseki confirms imminent arrest by EFCC over fraud allegations. Duma Boko sworn in as Botswana's 6th president after historic win. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.